I'm standing there naked and this little guy's looking at me going, huh? I would not fuck this tiny motherfucker anywhere.
If you got a man that's treating your ass good in the day, and then he's munching on it at night, you gotta keep that man. My pussy, they cut it right off!
I just see it as like, I think it's funny to tear people down.
Live from my grandmother's basement, we are Trash People, and we are the only Chris Gethard Presents podcast. I'm Emily Pineapple.
And I'm Forrest, the keeper of the Canon.
And each week on this podcast, we get to talk about the person who is hosting the next Chris Gethard Presents episode. And I'm so excited, Forrest. I didn't know that I needed to be excited because I did not know that this person existed. And then I watched them do things and I was like, but I want to live through them. I want to do the things. Like, it's id. She's id all over everywhere.
I was excited just based on her previous appearances on CGP as Carmen's mom and as herself and as Andrew Tischer's wife. But I am a whole other level of excited now after reviewing her past work.
Well, today we are talking about the glorious, the Queen of Queef.
Yes, the Queen of Queef.
Did she have another amazing title?
I think that's her main title right now.
We are talking about the Queen of Queef right now, Annie Donley. This is episode 310, Uncancelled, airing January 29th, 2020.
And Uncancelled is going to be an interactive webinar designed to help men get their groove back in the Me Too era, according to the official description.
And I'm sitting right here with a pretty avowed soy boy. So do you think that you are going to be changed after this seminar, Forrest?
I mean, I certainly hope so. As an icon of all that is wrong with modern soy boys who live in San Francisco, I really hope that I get to learn what it means to be a man through Annie's wise words.
And I do hope that I learn how to be a better ally to men.
And, I mean, Annie gave some good advice for that in the Q&A, which you should check out if you're listening to this within 13 days of our posting.
Yeah, so just now, Uncle B, Bryson, the social media manager himself, is that his title, social media manager?
He's in the credits as doing social media.
Wonderful. He had a Q&A with Annie Donley on Twitch. We got to submit questions. Thrill House called in, and we talked to her about what is coming up.
She also did a roundhouse kick.
She did a roundhouse kick. She flashed the camera because she's in fucking incredible.
She's chaos.
She is chaos. She is such chaos. And we learned all about how she's helping men get her groove back and the important things that women should do to be an ally to them. She specifically promised that her episode will be the most truthful and least sad, at least less sad than Chris Gethard's comedy.
Yes, and the liquid snack of Uncancelled is Budweiser, America's favorite macro brew, and the actual, solid snack is steak and pretzels. So get those before Wednesday night.
And we've promised that we will see no sad-eyed Chris Gethard crying his eyes out.
And I love Annie's character. I love Annie. She blends all the best parts of MRAs and self-help gurus into one package. And I think she's wonderful.
She is wonderful. So you can see her not only as Carmen's mom and herself and Andrew Tischer's wife on CGP 1, the official Chris Gethard Presents podcast, not the only one that exists right now.
She was on both the first episode of the TV show Chris Gethard Presents as Carmen's mom.
Oh, that's a good point.
And then on the first CGP pod, the dearly departed, defunct CGP pod.
Yeah. We're the living CGP pod. We're currently the only one, and we are Trash People.
Yes.
You can also see her on Gethard's Lost 2016 election special.
Yep.
In your time traveler things. But guess who you can also see on this episode, Forrest?
Matt Barretts?
It's him!
Yeah. He previously appeared in the first episode of CGP as well as Dean, who was friends with Carmen's Uncle Tony, who confronted Carmen about selling out and becoming a big-time Hollywood freak.
You can also see Rachel Cayley
Yes.
and Bardia Salimi, that guy who played the Joker in The Great Night Show, episode number 3. He's an old friend of Carmen's. There's some fun videos of them doing very offensive
And
improv.
Rachel Cayley, this should have been in the notes, it's not in the notes, was actually on CGP as well.
Oh!
She was on chemistry class as one of the daters.
Well, I think that honestly, leaving out details of a woman performer so that we can talk more about male performers is a part of you getting your groove back.
I mean,
Forrest.
you think I left it out because I got my groove back and not because I just skipped a line on accident, and it's really a character growth moment.
This is a huge character growth moment. Bardia Salimi has infected my brain with his set from Great Night Show 3, where he's like doing stand up, like all of the like old standards of like every quote or just comedian of color, immigrant comedians who have immigrant parents. And now whenever we go see comedy, I start laughing at setups because he used those setups. Like they're different. It's a fucking joke. Everyone does standards, but he infected my brain.
I mean, that's
and
fair.
I'm now rude at comedy shows. I'm not.
Well, you're laughing
try
at
not.
it like a clown would cause you to laugh. I loved him as the Joker so much. And then also Devin Bachrath, who appeared as Cassidy Dean, the teenager who loves boys and Fortnite on The Great Night Show. And like Annie Donley, she is also an instructor at the Brooklyn Comedy Collective, and she also appeared in episode 2 of Annie's public access show, Poppin' Off.
Yes, because this person is not just appearing on Chris Gethard's public access show. No, she is a public access star herself. She has a show called Poppin' Off. But before we get to
There's
that...
also, one other public access star who also teaches at the Brooklyn Comedy Collective to talk about.
Oh, tell me.
Andrew Tisher, host
It's
of
Andrew
Little
Tisher.
Green Guys.
I can't believe I skipped over the line of a man that we could have been talking about
that's
this whole time.
a real regression for you. I thought you appreciated comedy, and I guess...
I'm doing my best. I'm a recovering feminist. Just a recovering feminist. So he is, of course, the host of Little Green Guys. Yeah, and instructs at the Brooklyn Comedy Collective. And Annie, not only, she's public access star. She teaches at the Brooklyn Comedy Collective. She's also the programming director. She's the former programming director of the Annoyance Theater in New York. She's been performing and teaching improv for 3+ years in Chicago and New York. We went from Houston to Chicago
and
to New York.
Bio is from the Brooklyn Comedy Collective website, and I think maybe from a few years ago.
And it's been like jumped around with by me. They did not write like this.
No.
They wrote like coherent writers.
I think just pointing out she's been doing it for more than it's the plus in 3+ for sure at this point.
Oh, yeah. She hosts a public access show on Brick.
Which was the Brooklyn public access.
Brick.
Because each borough in New York has its own, or at least those 2 boroughs have their own public access stations.
Do you think that they have their own Discord?
I mean,
Brickheads?
maybe there is the Brickheads Discord for the Lego themed show on Brick.
Do you think they're like our evil twins?
I don't think they're evil.
That's fair.
I think they just made some choices in life, and they should come over to Planet Scum.
I mean, but they can hang out with Annie Donley on her show, Poppin' Off with Annie Donley.
Which also regularly featured Carmen Christopher.
And she performs regularly with the $700 Rules, which was formerly the Holy Fuck Comedy Hour.
Yeah.
Isn't that...
It's not that holy fuck.
It's not that holy fuck.
And then she has performed at Carnegie Hall twice.
Haters will say it's fake.
And if you like original Kermit memes, you can follow her on Twitter at Annie Asqueef.
I thought you were playing a sound just there.
No, that's just our Gatsby, not to be confused with Richie Owens' Gatsby.
I was like, oh, you have a sound drop for Annie Asqueef?
No, you do.
I do.
realize, but we didn't hook your
my
Hook
thing
you
up
up
so
to the
that I can.
soundboard.
No, that was just Gatsby providing flavor.
He's also excited.
He's also excited. So here's our 15 things
Yeah.
that we found from Annie Donley that we love. We would also like to put forward a plea to Annie Donley. I have a request.
You have a plea.
Yeah, I have a plea.
Okay, what's your plea?
I want more of her stuff online so that I can watch it.
Oh, that's a plea I agree with.
Yeah.
I agree with that plea. 100%.
I want more of the poppin' offs.
I would love more poppin' offs.
So our first thing is Poppin' Off with Annie Donley. It is her public access show on Brick. And we were only able to find episode 3 on YouTube and then episode 2 on the show's Facebook page. It might exist online in places that we can find.
I think we're also a couple more on her website, but they didn't quite play super smoothly. So we didn't get to see if they were different episodes or the same episodes hosted again there.
Well, we'll see. And we're definitely going to be talking more about her website in a moment.
Yes.
Let's talk about episode 2.
I love Poppin' Off. On Poppin' Off.
So Poppin' Off is like her thing where she apparently, according to the Q&A, has not done many. But this
hasn't done them for a while.
Has not done them for a while. And this is because she's a recovering feminist.
That was
Because Poppin' Off is all about hating men and living that anger. Like, this is where she's pure id, where it's like she is every nightmare angry feminist, but you like watch her and you're like, I also want to scream.
I mean, the official description of the show is a late night talk show for women by women.
Wait, how's that spelled?
WOMEAN. Featuring Brooklyn's most pissed off comedians. This is your grandma's talk show, bitch. And then in episode 2, I think it's episode 2, there's actually a grandma in the audience.
Oh my God.
Who gets up when she's told it's not your grandma's talk show. And then she's like, no, it is. You can stay.
It's incredible. It's amazing. She is, who's Lisa Lampanelli was the queen of mean, correct?
I think so.
Well, she retired from comedy because she's too mean. Because she was hurting people's feelings and that was not her aim. And so she quit and now she is a life coach. So I want to put forth Annie Donley as the new queen of mean. She's excellent at fucking hilarious insults.
Oh yeah, no, she's great at roasting and reading people. So I think that she would be a perfectly good heir to that title.
Re-listen to the first episode of the CGP podcast because like when we first listened to it, we didn't know who Christy Cello was. Yeah. She was just a voice. We didn't really know who Carmen Christopher was because the first episode hadn't happened yet.
Yeah, we'd only seen him on the Lose Well tour and then his web video for the TCGS.
Like we knew who Justin Linville was, but only kind of vaguely, and it had been a while. Fucking re-listen to it because it is the best. Yeah. You get to see Christy Cello begging Annie Donley to tell her how fat her ass is. Like Annie Donley like starts a read and she's like, your ass is so fat. She's like, tell me how fat my ass is.
And that's why episode 1 of the CGP podcast, sorry, old habit. Episode 1 of the CGP podcast is actually our second thing on the list.
It is. I definitely want to mention a few things more about Popping Off though.
Okay.
It includes a great quiz, which I might adapt at some point.
Yeah, we should definitely do something like this.
Is your man cheating on you? You can find out if your man is cheating on you. She'll let you know.
And it's a flow chart. There's wonderful graphics that go along with it.
And we get a fucking Carmen Christopher and Anthony Oberbeck appearance. They are the phantoms of the Brick Studio.
Yes. And they're the blind former hosts of a competing show called Sexy Talk.
Ooh, sexy.
And actually, funnily enough, Anthony Oberbeck was Carmen's Uncle Tony on the first episode of CGP. So he's also a CGP connection right here.
Oh, hey. And yeah, it's really good. And there's also like a brief picture appearance of Brian Marks, who was in Mary Houlihan's CEO Skyscraper and was also on the Great Night Show 3 and plays Annie's dad.
Yeah, he's Annie's dad in Poppin' Off.
Yeah, I
his
was like,
brief
wait.
graphic appearance.
He was the EMT, which he is a real EMT
yeah, that
in
part,
real
he
life.
truly is an EMT.
He saves people's lives. You should all know his name.
And he is the Batman, as we learned
Yes.
in that episode of CGP.
Yes.
And Carmen is also on episode 3 with Anthony Oberbeck. And on that one, Carmen plays a British hype man for his best friend who just wants to dance on the air. So I love them as like this recurring bit where they just interrupt the show and do nonsense hijinks.
I feel like we found, like, when we found Mary Houlihan, we were like, wow, these are all these fun, creative things all these people are doing together. I feel like now we figured out where they all work, which is at the Brooklyn Comedy Collective.
Yeah, no, I mean, and Justin's co-host, Maya Sharma, who was on the Freak Fest episode of CGP, also works there. So it's...
Fuck. We figured it out, Forrest.
Yeah, and Justin and Maya do a show there every week. So
wow.
It's, Brooklyn Comedy Collective is like one of the hubs for the CGP talent pool, and it's so cool learning about it through Annie.
It is. I feel like we could have just asked these questions to someone, but it feels cooler that we like found it out ourselves through fanning.
We could have asked. Yes, we could have asked, and it would have been much more straightforward.
But this was more fun.
We got to go on a journey, and our listeners got to go on a journey with us.
They did.
Or they Googled things.
And
knew ahead of us. And then, well, we're glad we caught up with you.
Yeah, exactly. Now we're all here together, and we're going to talk about Annie's website.
Annie's website is a work of art.
It is a GeoCities classic website. This is what she has at the top of it. And I'm gonna try and say this with these spelling choices that she made. That's the sound from her website. That's the sound
of her website. Apologies that went over the air, but it helps you get ready.
No, play it right now.
It's a MIDI file of the Home Improvement theme song.
It is. And now I'm going to read to you. I'm going to read with the music.
Oh.
So that you get the experience of looking at her website while you're sitting on the bus, not wanting to look at your phone.
I mean,
because you want to keep your eyes out for safety.
Look, safety is important.
Keep your phones down and your eyes up and listen to me give you the experience of this website.
Yes.
Hello, and I'm happy you're here. This is your one-stop shop for everything about me. Please browse around, sign the guest book, but most importantly, have fun. Check back constantly for updates. I might not update for a while, but that's just because my life can get a little crazy sometimes. Oh well. Anyway, thanks for visiting.
And the soundtrack varies on each page. That sound is on the help page.
Yes.
Which has also all of the under construction gifts, which are so perfectly GeoCities.
It doesn't help a person who's going to her website. It's a plea for help.
No, yeah, it's her asking for help. Well, she shares her favorite comedians, and it's great.
Who are her favorite comedians?
Well, Roseanne was, but unfortunately, for reasons you'll have to read on there, she's not anymore. It's basically because Roseanne revealed herself to be a bad person.
Yup.
And so, yeah, I love this website. It's just so perfectly like 90s GeoCities. The background is like a repeating wallpaper of clouds, and the text is just like either in a bright yellow box or just red text on this background.
On the podcast, La Culturistas, they call it digital brutalism.
I think that's such a
it's perfect.
That's a perfect descriptor.
It's absolutely perfect.
And she has a list of original ideas and jokes on the website, including feed a man to fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish. Well, that's a straight up miracle, honey.
It's beautiful.
So definitely
check it out. Give it a spin. I don't know how it works on mobile. Probably not well.
No, it works fine.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Excellent.
And there's also a counter on the bottom, so you'll get to see
where
you
visitor?
are. Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. All right. Our number 4 favorite thing is beautiful.
It's
a work
weird.
of art. It's called Great Dijon. It's a video that was made for IFC's Comedy Crib, in which we open watching Andrew Tisher and John Reynolds calmly canoeing in suits. They look like dapper gentlemen along a river. Is that the video?
That was Annie Donley's website again.
That's beautiful. And they see on the side of the river like this strange fucking like country like deliverance lady.
Yeah.
Screaming, asking for musty, asking to share their musty. Like
their great Dijon.
Their great Dijon. And she's calling it musty and they refuse to give it to her. So then we follow her home to her like creepy motherfucking deliverance home with like 12 dudes in underwear in it who are like her children.
Yeah, like so if you know the classic vintage TV ad that for Grey Poupon where two rich people pull up next to each other and trade Grey Poupon, it's like if, as you say, like a person from Deliverance runs in the middle of that and just interrupts it.
Or it's like,
or like The Hills Have Eyes or something.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
much more. It's horror-y.
It's very horror-y. The children want musty for their hot dogs.
Yes, they just want musty.
What are they gonna eat with their hot dogs? I feel like she might have made this in Chicago, where mustard on hot dogs is like a big deal.
I mean,
do you think that was a joke?
Well, I mean, given that it's hard to tell because it's three people who all started in Chicago and are now all
in New York.
In New York, at least I think they're all in New York, and so it's really hard to place it.
That's fair. Well, it's incredible. It's the most disturbing thing.
Yeah, that's a good description.
Amazing and disturbing, but it's disturbing in a good way. In that good way, like give me that good disturbing shit. Like I don't want to watch The Hills Have Eyes.
No.
That's too disturbing for me.
Yeah,
that's like off the cliff of disturbing. This is like the perfect amount of disturbing.
Yeah, and it's funny because there is that dark heart to a lot of her comedy. Consistently.
It's just batshit.
No, yeah.
It's crazy and insane, and it doesn't explain itself. It's surrealism. It's magical realism, but in a fucked up way.
That was also something I loved about our 5th video, Treehouse, which is
a video
essentially a Full House style sitcom starring 3 trees that are animated in like a very flash animation kind of style.
It's by Ground Floor Comedy.
Yeah, and Annie...
Or it was made for them.
And Annie
by them.
plays the mom tree. Mama tree.
Mama tree.
And there's just like... there's just leaf puns.
It's constantly puns.
And just... Yeah, like I said, like it's like the animation is so specifically flash, and that adds so much to the randomness of it, because that was the like era of peak random comedy online. And I just love it.
Do I love it because it's nostalgic, or do I love it because I was always an odd duck who liked odd things? Forrest, are we just the sum of our experiences?
Yes, but I don't think that's why you love it. I think you love it.
Are we doomed to only enjoy things that we have seen before and gave us a happy memory?
No, because while that one has that nostalgic element, a lot of her other videos are just random and don't have a nostalgic element, and they're still hilarious and amazing.
Very true. Yes. That is entirely true. Just like the next video, which, oh my God, it's like a Black Mirror episode.
It really is.
This is called Black Friday Goes Virtual, where she and her husband play a couple who are exhilarated. They love Black Friday more than anything. And so they choose to engage in it from the comfort of their living room using virtual reality headsets.
And she celebrates getting to steal like a TV from someone else's virtual hands, and
they open virtual presents.
Yeah.
The whole family. They're just like holding boxes, but they have the headsets on. And I'm like, oh my God, this is both the future and like definitely real and going to happen, but fucking hilarious.
Well, and then like her husband drowns and then stops the drowning and then resumes the drowning all in VR. Their kid, the way that they use the kid throughout the video is hilarious.
Fucking watch this video. I've never, it's like disturbing comedy. Like people say like, oh, Get Out or something. Like that's horror.
Oh yeah, that's a horror movie.
But this is a comedy Twilight Zone, which is not a spot that I can put anything else into.
No.
Her stuff is comedy Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
What else is comedy Twilight Zone?
No.
Maybe Greener Grass?
Yeah, greener
This crazy
grasses.
fucking surreal movie that we saw at a festival, and I don't remember the name of the people in it, but it's like an absurdist piece where people are like, you know, a woman gives away her baby and then like a child turns into a dog and everyone's kind of like playing it straight, but it's batshit.
It was directed and written by Jocelyn DeBoer and Don Lubey.
They're incredible. See it.
They see it. It's great. The Rotten Tomatoes described it as a day-glow-colored bizarro version of Suburbia, where adults wear braces on their already straight teeth. And like that's...
Yeah. I could see her in that movie.
She would be amazing. And I mean, she would be perfect in that movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I could see her doing these kinds of performances.
Oh, yeah, Beck Bennett is in it also from SNL.
Just like this next video, this is what it makes me think of. It's by The Annoyance and it's called That Planet.
Yeah.
It's from 2015. It was created for IFC Comedy Crib. And Annie's in there with, again, Andrew Tisher and John Reynolds.
And with Devin Bachrath, who will be on Annie's CGP episode and was already on as that child who likes Fortnite and boys.
I apologize for hitting my mic again. It was because of my excitement about this particular video. John Reynolds is married to Annie Donley, and they have their boss and his wife over. And
Andrew Tisher's his boss.
It seems super normal and then is just like triply weird. Like it goes, it's like a Twilight Zone episode because they keep treating it like John Reynolds keeps daydreaming about that planet.
Yeah.
And we're like, what the fuck is that planet? And it gets continually but slowly more absurd. And it just leaves you with this deep sense of like wanting but also joy. It reminds me of Ray Bradbury. It reminds me of his like happier shit.
No, I totally see that.
It's still like weird and doesn't like explain itself.
Well, and his happier stuff is so grounded in suburban lifestyles and existences that this is, which is similarly grounded in that, definitely has big Bradbury energy.
Is this because she's from Chicago? Is this because that group is all from Chicago and that's where intellectual things happen?
I mean, New York is also where intellectual things happen.
No, just Chicago.
Oh, Chicago is the only city in the world where intellectual things happen?
Yeah. San Francisco's fake intellectual shit. Like we think we're real intellectual, but we're saying like basic ass nonsense.
Yeah.
Chicago's just intellectual as fuck. New York is just a grungy, dirty, crazy Italian from Brooklyn. Every single human in New York is a crazy old Italian from Brooklyn.
Well, you are Italian.
I am Italian, and my family is from Brooklyn.
So,
yeah. I mean, like we're from.
I'll let you make that generalization
Here within memory.
I mean,
But
I do wonder if the Chicago element is contributes because
I want to know.
You know, you have Second City and all that, which was very intentionally trying to be highbrow.
I had a bunch of questions for Annie for the Q&A. But like they were for Annie Donley, not like the human who is going to be presenting to us uncanceled.
Right.
And so we had much better questions at that point, like how can I support men as a recovering feminist?
Right. We came up with those questions as we went, but all the way had prepped.
Yeah, I'm also curious about what her influences were and how she feels like coming up in Chicago makes possibly her comedy and the things she creates like different from people in New York. Does she think that's true?
I would be curious.
Because she's actually from Houston.
Yeah.
And then she went to Chicago. Was she doing stuff in Houston? What stuff was she doing in Houston?
I don't know, but one place where you can get some view into her comedy and how it works a little bit is our 8th thing, Amazon Penis Fish, which is an episode of the La Culturistas podcast that was released on February 14th, 2018.
Released by podcasting titan Forever Dog.
Yes, by Forever Dog, which
has all of these.
It has National Lampoon Radio Hour on it. And that is hosted by Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang. And on this episode, they talk to Annie about her favorite erotic home improvement fan fiction, her Annie Asquith persona, Backstreet Boys versus NSYNC, birthing a lemon through a penis, and much more. But it was interesting hearing her talk about the Annie Asquith persona, because you don't always get the chance to hear a comedian talk about like, oh yeah, this is a persona I do.
Yeah, that was really fun, especially because she did it so casually as if she was talking about a best friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is really fun. Like, I feel like Rachel Peagram's the Muppet that she's dating.
Joe Rumroll?
Joe Rumroll. Thank you. I'm like, fuck, I lost the name. Fuck. Joe Rumroll. I feel like he similarly talks about his persona in that way.
Yeah, I mean, on chemistry class, he overtly made a reference and then was like, oh, wait, no, my persona wouldn't know about that.
But it's really fun hearing her talk about her persona because you also get an idea that, like, oh, no, she's batshit. She is just chaos in the shape of a woman.
Yeah, it's a good intro to just how chaotic her comedy can be, which is like a huge strength of it because like all of those things I listed, the transition between all of those different topics feels effortless and natural.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
it's partially because Matt and Bowen are both very good hosts, but also
this
like
is Bowen Yang, who is on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. So it's partially that they're great hosts, but also it's just she has that like chaotic thing where she can just effortlessly bounce from topic to topic to topic and make it look effortless.
Because it is in her brain. Because her brain is connected to the universe on a different level than us.
That's true.
I mean, I aspire to be as chaotic
I
as
did think
she.
about that when I saw one of the characters she's played.
Which one?
Which one? Well, it's going to be our next thing, which is the special without Brett Davis. And I really, when she was playing Sabrina on the episode with Bobby Blaze, I definitely like thought of the character you would be playing as your best improv self.
As my best improv
The
self.
one who's the wrestler who like...
Oh, who cuts up her own vagina because she hates her body?
No. Was that same one?
Where they're all in the like kiss makeup?
No, that was... Sorry, I shouldn't have said wrestler. That was on the Warlords Christmas special.
Well, that one is really incredible, and you should absolutely see that character and the other warlords who hate their bodies and yell about it.
I was thinking of Sabrina, who, when asked, can you do a foot stand?
Oh, yes.
Just immediately goes, I'll figure it out on the fly, and starts to like stand on a chair before everyone is like, no.
So Sabrina is a troubled teen.
Yes.
She's out of control. She's out of control. Her beleaguered father is at the end of his rope.
Andrew Tisher.
He just wants her to worship God and be a good girl, and she cannot stop making the like peace sign and then putting her tongue through it like she's licking vagina.
Yeah.
And is just fucking nuts, and I loved it. That was where I was like, I want to do that. Like that's everything my id has ever wanted to do, but has been like restrained within me because they're like, Emily, stop running around like that. You're going to hurt yourself and others.
Well, and that is
fair enough.
Yes. That is fair for you, but it's also, it's one of her like all of her personas are chaotic, but this is the one that is the most itty, like you were saying. And then she played Sabrina on 3 episodes, including the 100th episode where Sabrina was one of the little jokes who were Mr. Jokes' children. And Mr. Jokes is a recurring character who just does like Borscht Belt style like jokes, which are the like take my wife, no take her please. And Andrew played Andrew Jokes, who was trying to take his job on another episode. She also appeared as Iago on the Aladdin episode and as an internet troll serving Steve Bannon in an alt-right Christmas special.
And in the Aladdin episode, she's pregnant.
Yeah.
Which I thought was awesome because you never get to see pregnant ladies doing comedy unless they're like doing stand-up about their pregnancy. And as a person who like, you know, is a woman and wants children in whatever way.
Yeah.
But it's like cool. It's cool to see that because you don't get to see pregnant ladies do things still.
No, it's still not a thing.
In this day and age, you don't see pregnant ladies just do things. Like you go outside and there's tons of pregnant ladies in spring because we're in San Francisco and techies create... Really, there were so many more pregnant women in spring.
For sure.
Like,
it's the season of fertility.
All over the place, these pregnant ladies. Like... And that's great. That's wonderful. They're all going to their jobs, but I don't see them in my comedies.
Well, I mean, in Ali Wong's special...
It's about being pregnant.
But it was so...
Yeah, it was groundbreaking.
That was groundbreaking, as opposed to just like, oh, a person in a natural state that people find themselves in is doing comedy because they're a funny person. And that's not a slight at Ali Wong. It's a slight at
society.
The comedy industry is still at a place where that has to be that has to be groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Because it's not taken as a granted thing that like this is a thing that will happen.
Yeah. I can't get over
often.
how a podcast I was listening to, Jessa Reed, who is a comedian on Mormon and the Meth Head, was talking about how in 2015 she was asked to be like, specifically, like people would be like, hey, will you be the token girl for our lineup?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And like within like 2 years, it was like, shit, we need more girls on our lineup. Do you know any chicks? And she's like, this is crazy.
It is crazy. I mean, I don't disagree that it's crazy. One more character Annie appeared as on the special is she was a very Martha Stewart-esque character who was showing Stone Cold Steve Austin all of her favorite Halloween decorations. And Brett Davis was Stone Cold and was getting excited every time she showed a skull. But just seeing her bring this, like I said, Martha Stewart energy to, and here's the spooky decorations of the holiday season, was just, it's so good. Definitely check that one out as well.
The next one was, of course, her appearances on the Great Night Show. She was on episodes 1 and 3. She did Zumba moves and a freaking splits.
Yes.
She can do the splits.
Yeah.
Fuck.
She did the splits on both of her appearances on CGP.
That's true. And then on the third, of course, she was in Comics Uncaged, where she talked about her pussy was ripped open during her C-section. She played the best version of the woman comic who can only talk about being pregnant.
Well, and all her act outs. Her act outs are so funny in that. And then the 11th thing we're going to talk about is Bounce, which is a short film that came out April 22nd, 2019, and was starring and written by Wes Haney, who was the bartender on Enchanted Pumice. And in that video, Annie plays a mom-to-be who helps deflate Wes's perfect day, because it turns out his character has like walked out on his family. And the reason he's having a perfect day is he's just dodged his wife and children. And Annie and her husband in the short see him and are like, oh, you're here? Where's your wife? Oh, she's in the hotel. Calls up the wife. Everything goes south from there. It's really good. She brings like her trademark intensity to the like attempting to be helpful mom character. And it's really fun to see her channel that intensity to like helpful Midwestern mom. And then the like rage at what Wes Haney's character has done.
So beautiful. Number 12, we usually save social media posts for like the second time they appear, the hosts appear. But her social media is something the fuck else.
Yeah.
We must share. You must follow.
Yeah, like there is no danger of us. Like we can still, even with these, do a whole episode of other like great social media posts she's done.
This is what social media was made for.
Yeah, she is so good at it.
So this is her story posted on January 10th, 2020 about her story of working at a startup. I'll start it off. I'll read the first tweet. I am a 46-year-old. I'm an executive assistant at a startup company. My boss is 31. My wrist constantly broken. I fucking relate. Every day at 10:30 a.m., I destroy the bathroom with piss and diarrhea. I rarely make it to the bowl. I think it because dinner is always macaroni, salad, and hamburger helper. The only thing I know how to make.
To signify that the toilet I destroyed is unusable, I lift the seat. The girls know what's up when they see this. The diarrhea splatter helps too, lol. After I wash my hands, I shake them furiously in the sink before I use a paper towel to fully dry. Maximum splashage on mirror.
I feel bad about the carnage I've left, but can't help how my bowels react to certain foods, macaroni, salad, and ham helper. For lunch, it's leftovers from dinner. Not supposed to eat at my desk, but I sneakily do it. Too embarrassed to sit in the break room because of bad gas I constantly pass.
Every night I drink too much, wine glass emoji, and cut my own hair. I wear knit hats constantly because of my crooked cuts. I've never worn a comfortable shoe in my life. Every pair of underwear I've owned, I've destroyed within a week of purchase.
It's the best.
It's so good. And then you have to see all the comments on this too. Just you have to go check it out. The link to this tweet will be in our show notes.
You must.
And then the 13th thing we're going to highlight is also a tweet. And this was tweeted on January 2nd, 2020, where Annie makes quite an endorsement. And I can read this or do you want, you can, let's start.
Pass it off.
Yeah, let's pass it off like we have been.
I want to do the second one.
I'm a whole mood. I'm a look. I'm positively a vibe.
I am cunty. I witch. I got mab tribe.
Squad goals are my goals, and slaying is life.
I'll eat ass, Netflix and chill. I am your BFF and wife.
I'm young AF. I'm squall. Boomer make me sad.
My pussy ain't your pussy unless you're hot dad.
Hot Dad 2020.
I'm voting for hot dad now.
I mean, I didn't know who I was going to vote for, but as we approach the Iowa caucuses, I think Hot Dad really deserves a chance.
Hot dad 2020.
And then the 14th thing is another tweet yet again. And in this case, Annie asked for positive vibes with the tweet, positivity alert. Been feeling really down on myself lately. A lot of my dreads are killing it right now, but I can't seem to break through. I can't help but think I suck. Could really use your love right now. Please respond with something positive about me, and I'll be sure to return the favor. This was posted October 8th, 2019.
Do you want to read the first reply and I'll say what she said?
So the first reply is from Rachel Pegram. It's the Elegance Hour's own Rachel Pegram, who says, Annie, you're so fucking fearless and funny, and I love it so goddamn much, and damn comedic inspiration.
This is the reply. Hey, at Rachel Pegram, just seeing this. Wow, what can I say except if what you say is true? I hope I've inspired you to shut the fuck up. I'm out here doing the work. You're out there fucking Joe Rumrule's mustache.
And then Christy Cello said, wow. Lots of W's.
Lots of W's. Lorelai Ramirez said, Hey, Annie, make me come with your words. I love you and think you're more talented than all the people with jobs, and I hate everyone's work.
And Annie responded, the feeling is mutual about everyone hating your work too, I mean. You're not even funny enough to be in the Legion of Spank. They threw your ass out.
Lorelai said, touching my clit to this. I'm glad that they were able to, get off on what they needed.
Yeah. And then Sally Burtnick said, had to double check who wrote this because you are literally the most talented person I can think of. You have electric magnetism. You are stunningly phenomenal.
Reply, Sally Sputnik. Shut the fuck up, you dirty looking hort. Stay away from my family. We don't want those fleas you got from @Brett Davis RIP.
And then Brett said, I agree with Sally about Annie's talent and Annie about my little problem.
Annie's response, @Brett Davis RIP. Thank you, brother. I don't care what anyone says. I was so happy when I see you get lampoons. Now you can finally pay back all your ex-girlfriend's rent money.
She's just so good at social media. Like the fact that this, like I love this tweet because it's such a prank too.
And like all of her friends know what's up, I'm sure. But even so, like those optics, because they tell you like when someone like says hateful things, like just say something really genuine and nice back and it'll totally disarm them. And this is like the beautiful inverse of that, designed for maximum laugh. Yeah,
and I mean, she definitely was picky about who she responded to and responded to the ones where she's like, oh, I know that they're going to get what I'm doing.
Yeah. Like Lorelai.
Yeah, like Lorelai.
Who will get off on it.
Yeah. And then there are other ones who were just like very, very heartfelt. And I think Annie was just like, I don't think they're gonna I don't think they're gonna want to do this. Because she said mentioned on the CGP podcast that like part of why she likes doing the sort of tearing down character is because in real life she's actually like very like considerate and friendly and nice.
Like concerned about how she is making other people feel.
She doesn't want to hurt people, but then in comedy it's like, well, this is jokes.
It's the perfect id.
It's great.
She does insult comedy in a way, it's different from roasts because it has a level of absurdism while still being like so mean.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I think, and she talked about it on the CGP podcast, how it's part of drag. As
Drag
an art
culture?
form. Yeah, drag culture with reads. And I think that part of it is the grounding in that her insult comedy comes from that and not from like just your Don Rickles type of stuff where it's purely just a barb. There is the theatricality of the insult, because the insults are always over the top and absurd. It's not just like, well, you're ugly. It's like, no, you're so ugly, the blank. Like, you know?
Absolutely. I want to plug another episode that I heard her on, where she does reads. It's called Done.
Oh, yeah.
It's called where they talk about what they're done with.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
And it's with the individuals, as I'm looking this up. I need to give them credit. They're really good. So it's a Forever Dog podcast. It is with Dara and Betsy.
Yes, Dara Katz and Betsy Kenny.
Thank you very much for filling that in. I'm like, your description doesn't say your names. But yeah, she's on episode 2, Borrowed Items, Extremists, and Neighbors' Footsteps.
That was such a good episode.
And what they do is they say what they're done with, and then they get someone to vote on like which thing is the most worthy of being, someone being done with. And then at the end, they just like all insult each other, like in the best way with like the most vitriol, but in this like, it is within the beautiful context in which one can like just glory, just glory in terrible insults that are like so funny.
And she's also been on I Don't Think So, Honey on La Culturistas, where there's also it's a similar idea of saying like like I'm finished with
this thing. This thing is bad. It's the put down. It's the tear down of concept or person.
Yeah. And she's so good at it.
She's really good at it in a way that's distinct from roasts.
Yeah.
I need to do some research.
Yeah. No. My completely uninformed guess I would hazard is that it is partially because it's her form of it is rooted in drag, where it not the like Friars Club.
And I think also because she is clearly so rooted in absurdism.
That too.
In her performances, and I think probably who she is as an artist.
I definitely would agree with that because that absurdism undergirds everything.
It's a very frenetic kind of absurdism, though. Yeah. It's all body and energy and dancing and like these crazy like moves, and it looks like she's flying off the handle, but she like has it together. Rather than the absurdism like of Mary Houlihan. Yeah. Who's very restrained.
Yeah.
And very like delicate and has like a light touch with things while being like absurd. Like Annie's absurdism also like screams out through a chaotic physicality.
No, yeah. I like that. I think that that's a very good point because I think that absurd stand-up people tend to think of like a Stephen Wright, where it's a very like this thing and then clever punchline. It's that lower energy
or just in the words, like it's not it's the words themselves, not the way that the words are like presented. Yeah, not necessarily, or even just in that it's cool seeing a woman performer with that level of intensity because it's not even just Rachel Pegram who does, especially on Elegance Hour and in other places, like she's flopping all over the place, like trying to be elegant, but is extremely awkward.
Yeah.
Like there is energy and anger and a desire to be seen.
Yeah. No, and
Annie.
I love that too. I love that. I think that that's definitely one of her hallmarks that's just so cool to see.
It's a mixture of like, it's not desperation because it's like that it reminds me of like being a kid in a middle school and you're just like, and you're on a sugar high and your energy's everywhere and like, you don't know what's going to get you in trouble or not. So like, fuck it.
And it's definitely not desperation because like she plays with that sometimes, but it's not most of her characters.
No, it's not that kind of desperation. But it's not just the like confidence of Megan Stalter.
No, it's something.
There's energy behind it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's anger, like with popping off. And I think
it's
that
often anger.
It's often anger.
Which
it's
is
cool seeing women angry.
Yeah. And especially where like you're saying, angry in a way that has so much physicality behind it.
And so much vitriol.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You know that she doesn't really feel these things because she's a fucking pro.
Right.
But like, it's all there in her body.
Yeah,
and her
because
voice.
like her characters, it's not a cool detached anger. It's like it's an explosive, like.
It's often like in her words, like she'll say a thing that shows that we're in an absurd situation, which they talk about in CGP, the podcast. But like her performance sells it so hard, and it's glorious.
I think that's because Chris on that podcast said that he has seen Annie get away with things that no other comedian could get away with, and I think
like Robbie Hoffman.
Yeah. But I think that energy is a huge part of it.
Yeah.
And then our 15th thing, speaking of absurdity, is Annie, Jack-o'-lantern. It's episode 8 of Everything is Alive, where Annie Donley plays a jack-o'-lantern named Annie, who described the expression on her face as, "So my eyes are cockeyed. They're triangle-shaped. Well, they're trying to be triangles. I guess one looks more like a square. It has 4 sides. My nose is an upside-down triangle, and the expression on my mouth is what can I describe as a moon turned upside down? No, like a fingernail turned upside down. And I've got a little snaggletooth, so I guess the expression is angry baby."
And this is so Everything is Alive is incredible, and it has all of these awesome talents from New York. It's a Radiotopia show where they NPR style interview objects. Connor Ratliff was on it as a portrait of a president. I think Andrew Tisher was on it.
I think Tisher was on it.
Tisher was on it. Like all these motherfuckers are on it. Like I heard these people and then I'm like, oh, that motherfucker? Yeah. So my favorite thing about this is that like most of them are like, they talk about the limitations that objects feel. Like, for example, the elevator who can never go outside.
Yeah.
The portrait who, wonders what they look like.
Yeah.
She talks about being cut open and disemboweled and left to rot with a flame inside of you.
Yeah, the dark...
First, you're separated from your family.
Yeah.
And you're put on a truck with a bunch of other pumpkins you don't know. And then you are sold. You are examined and disregarded and then sold. And then you are chopped the fuck up and like she describes, like they actually give a warning.
Yeah.
Before she talks. They're like, this is graphic. Because it's fucking graphic.
And like it's funny we mentioned the desperation thing on number 14, because I think that this is actually one of the cases where you do see her play a character that has a desperation undergirding them. Yeah. Because they're a jack-o'-lantern who's hollowed out and carved up and knows that like they're just decaying now. Yeah. And that is a desperate character, a disempowered desperate character in a way that I don't think most of her characters are.
No. This character, she was meant for Halloween, not motherhood.
It's so good. And it's really good. They talk about the cultural symbolism of pumpkins and around in the Ukraine. I think it is like, it's so good. Just definitely check this one out. Listen to this whole fucking podcast. Just subscribe to that podcast.
And especially I've really been enjoying because I heard some now and then as they came out, but like going back for specific episodes where I know who the object is, is so much fun.
It's really cool getting to see how their work outside of that podcast informs the character and object that they've been chosen to play by the producers of that podcast.
And a lot of the things that we see of people as we're looking at this are their things. Yeah. It's them doing their own stand-up. It's them doing their one-person shows. It's them doing their bit on the Chris Gethard show, bit on the special without Breck Davis. It's they clearly chose and had all of the, they have all the self-direction over Everything is Alive too. But I think it's just cool seeing them fit into a style. Yeah. Because they're all NPR style, quote unquote, you know? Like they don't, they're within a framework that's very restrained. And also I think that audio is a really interesting medium. I like getting to hear these comedians both in audio and seeing them physically, because I feel like I get more about their specific performances when I'm able to break that up and then like put it back together.
Well, especially I think because storytelling, like there's always a story being told on this episode, so it's a chance to see them
more in a play. Well,
yeah,
more like cock-a-doodle-doo.
Yeah, you're seeing them talk-a-doodle-doo.
So, thank you.
You're seeing them act more and do storytelling more in a different way than you get from their stand-up or the web videos even, because it's such a character-driven piece where the jokes come from generally like the character's existential experience as opposed to puns. I mean, there's puns, but like, you know, it's often rooted in like what the character has been through, like the portrait who's desperate to see himself, or the like horrible ordeal that Halloween is for jack-o'-lanterns. Like there's like this existential element to just like so much of the horror that these objects are going through that's interesting. And
she really brings it in a way that not all of the episodes do, because she lives in that horror space. She lives in the comedy Twilight Zone. Yeah. And the Twilight Zone is my favorite place, and comedy is also my favorite thing. And so like good comedy Twilight Zone is the best thing. It's the best snack. It reminds me of Josh Sharp.
Oh, yeah.
And his great puppet videos.
Yeah. Josh Sharp's videos were definitely in a similar vibe on that.
And also.
Yeah, with also, which was UCB's video team back in the day.
And she was with the Annoyance Theater, though, when she first came to New York.
Yeah.
Correct? She opened it, or was she just the programming director?
No, she helped found. On her Brooklyn Comedy Collective bio, it says that she is a founding member, instructor, and the former programming director of the Annoyance Theater in New York.
Yeah, so it's really interesting getting to see, because we had been looking at this project through the lens of UCB.
Yeah, just because of Gethard's connection to it, and that's what we knew.
Yeah, and now I'm like, oh, there's this other fucking theater, and also most of the people that I've been seeing are from this theater, and suddenly a lot of the things that I have seen in all of their performances and their characters and the things that they make, I'm seeing a lot of really cool similarities, and it's all the stuff that I really like.
And this is 2 CGP episodes in a row hosted by a person with a tie to Chicago.
Yes.
Because Megan Stalter is also from Chicago with her and has that absurdity as well. And Richie Owens is also from Chicago. And so I think that I think it's interesting that all three of them share that absurdity.
We haven't found that here in San Francisco yet.
What do you mean?
Like, I wonder if that absurdity, I wonder if it's just alt comedy everywhere, or if it's a flavor that people pick up in different cities. And I wonder what our city's flavor is.
Actually, I'm sorry. It's 4 in a row because Tisher. 3 in a row because Tisher also has the Chicago roots.
Yeah.
I think I would imagine you find different, like, I think there's definitely overlap. I'm sure there's overlap in terms of like that they all have, all alt comedy is going to be altier and stranger. But I think I don't know. I think there is a certain Chicago. There may be a certain Chicago.
Do you think more of them are like more character people? Whereas like Claire O'Kane, who's from here, like also does a lot of stand up, just like straight stand up.
I wouldn't be surprised because I definitely have noticed our scene at least doesn't have as much character comedy. It's much more the stand up, the comedian like sharing their perspective on things.
Yeah. We randomly stumbled into a musical comedy concert this weekend at a coffee shop. They're called the Muted Jewel Tones.
They're very good.
We like walked in to order coffee and we're like, oh, cute. They're like singing like little like doo-wop-y like jazz standards, and they like sing a standard and they sing a standard. We're waiting for our drinks. And then all of a sudden they like bust out these like hilarious, ridiculous joke songs. And we're like, what what the fuck? And they're like, yeah, so those are all of our originals. We're like, what?
No, yeah, definitely check them out as well. But
so it's making me curious. It's making me curious about what else I can find in this city. Like, we have excellent stand-up.
No, we have an amazing comedy scene here,
all
for
over
sure.
the place.
But there's one more Annie Donley thing to talk about.
Oh, yes, there is.
Which is another tweet.
It's a bonus tweet.
It's a bonus
this is
tweet.
number 16.
This is 16. And it's a tweet that was tweeted on January 3rd, 2019. And I think it in many ways sets the stage for Uncanceled and may have been part of her awakening.
Mm.
Where she tweeted, in this new year, 2019, I will constantly be scared for men! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point.
Yep.
And many men responded with gratitude that she was scared for us. And someone said, hey, I hope you will protect me from those who judge me for, quote, things I say and, quote, my actions.
Was that Martin Urbano?
No.
That sounds like Martin Urbano.
It sounds like a Martin Urbano tweet, but it was not Martin Urbano. It was actually Stick Hoop Boy. John Goncalves. I apologize for probably mispronouncing your name. I don't know who that, I couldn't see if they were a comedian or anything. It's just a funny tweet.
It's a really funny tweet.
And yeah, Brian Paisano said, thank you for your service.
I want to know about, okay, so here's the question that I most wanted answered in her Q&A, and that like absolutely could not have been answered given that she was like presenting, she was performing for us. We got another free performance from her, which was incredible.
She was the tireless advocate Annie Donley, not comedian Annie Donley.
Yeah. And so what I'm curious about is there's like the two different ways that we have primarily seen the sexist rape culture that we live in lampooned.
Yeah.
One is, and the primary one, which we've seen through Martin Urbano and Kelsey Kane and a lot of people, it's and in Uncanceled, mockery by imitation.
Yeah.
Where they're pretending to be that thing in such a way that the absurdity of that thing being allowed to exist is highlighted.
Right.
She also does lampooning it through anger. Like as the I forget the exact wording I use. There's mockery by imitation, and then there's mockery by like,
oh yeah,
just like being fucking pissed at it.
We see some of that in Leah Bonema's web videos as well, where it's her actively like mocking dumb ideas, not pretending that she espouses them, but just taking them on directly. Like
wanting to save the sperm.
Yeah.
In the sperm banks. And then there's and then there's also the takedown of it, which and popping off, she really straddles in between, this is actually fucked up, and this is what MRAs and shitty old dudes think feminists are on about. So it's an explosion of that character just to highlight how absurd their conception of what our problem is.
Yeah.
Our being us women and allies of women who are all currently recovering from being soy boys and feminists.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because she gets in that liminal space a lot where it's
what does she have a philosophy behind what she chooses for what purpose? Does she have a type that she enjoys most? What is she most drawn to lampooning in her career? And is that an important part of her artistic expression? Or is she more just she loves doing these ridiculous characters?
I would love to know the answer to that. But we may never know.
We may never know, but what we will know is how men can get their groove back.
And how they can get uncanceled this Wednesday on CGP at chrisgeth.com/live. You definitely know that if you're listening to this podcast. But
will Geth be uncanceled? He was turned to dust.
He was, but then he was in this Q&A, so I don't know what Geth's status is in the uncanceled cinematic universe.
Will Kelsey Kane be uncanceled?
That was one of my questions that didn't have time to get answered, is will Annie Donley use her uncanceling powers to restore the life of Chris Gethard? And all Kane. Problematic comedians everywhere, including Kelsey Kane.
Yeah. So everyone, I'm so excited.
I'm just really excited for this episode. If you couldn't tell by our Probably ill-advised, leaning into the conceit.
Oh, yes. No, there's no ill vision here, Forrest. Keeper of the Canon.
No. What?
I don't know.
Just
I'm
get nervous.
I understand that you're nervous, but it's important that we support men in this tough hour for them.
I should support them and myself.
Yes.
Yes.
It's okay. It's
Thank
okay,
you.
my little soy
I'm
boy.
sorry I had a Beyond Burger.
Which do not have soy in
They
them.
have pea protein instead.
They're very highly processed foods that are not particularly healthy for you.
But it's funnier to say I'm eating pea.
Well, everyone go see Annie Donley. Look up her shit. Enjoy it. Look at her fucking tweets. Why are you not following her on all the social medias? Oh, is it because you don't have social media? Because you're like so cool? Well, guess what? You can make a fucking like dummy account and not put anything on it and just follow Annie Donley and see her funny things. And you should also follow Christy Cello while you're at it.
And CGP MNN.
Yeah, but CGP MNN like isn't constantly pushing out humor.
No.
They're highlighting other people. How about follow them, and then every person who they tell you about, follow that person
exactly.
for
And then
comedy.
and that's how you find out about all the cool secret-ish things like the Q&A with Annie Donley.
They're all doing social media super well now that I think about
The
it.
comedians have to nowadays.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. No, I love it. I loved getting these little doses of comedy throughout the day from all the comedians whose work we love.
Right? Like, bitches should be getting paid for this, but they're not. Instead, we're just consuming their media for free. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for putting it out there.
Right? Thank you. I am sorry that the world exists the way that it does, but this is funny. Go see Annie Donley. We love you. Good night.
Good night and good fun.
All right, but I just have one more thing to say to you.
What?
If I have to clean one more skid mark out of your underwear, I don't know what I'll do. Goodbye, everybody!